What if I told you that the way a man tests you has nothing to do with games and everything to do with how deeply he's starting to feel for you? Most women mistake these tests as rejection, emotional distance, or mixed signals. But in reality, these moments often reveal a man's most vulnerable truth. He's deciding whether you're the woman he can trust with his heart. When a man starts falling in love, something shifts inside him. Men don't fall lightly. They fall slowly, cautiously, intentionally. And before he allows himself to open up, he begins observing your reactions to things you don't even know you're being tested on. Not to manipulate you, but to understand you. To see who you really are beneath the surface. In this video, we're going to break down the hidden psychology behind these tests. The ones men never talk about. The ones they don't even realize they're doing. You'll discover why a man suddenly pulls back, right when things feel good. Why he pays attention to your smallest behaviors. Why he gets quieter when feelings get stronger. And why, sometimes, he acts completely opposite of what he feels. Because here's the truth. When a man starts falling in love, his heart wants to move forward, but his mind wants to protect him. And these tests are his way of making sure you're someone safe to fall for. So if you've ever been confused by a man's hot and cold behavior, if you've ever wondered whether he's losing interest or simply scared of how much he feels, stay exactly where you are. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what his tests mean and how to respond in a way that strengthens the bond instead of pushing him away. When a man begins to develop real feelings, something subtle happens long before he ever admits it, even to himself. His behavior starts shifting in ways that can feel confusing, contradictory, or completely unexpected. But underneath these shifts lies a very simple truth. Men experience love as both a desire and a risk. And that internal conflict shapes almost everything they do. Unlike most women, men rarely express emotions as they feel them. Instead, they process emotions through action, observation, and withdrawal. They step back not because they've lost interest, but because their minds are trying to understand what their hearts have already decided. This is why a man who is falling for you may suddenly get quieter, more thoughtful, or even slightly distant. His brain is running a silent checklist. Can I trust her? Is she consistent? Does she understand me? Will she still care if I show her the real me? This isn't manipulation, it's instinct. Men are raised to protect themselves emotionally, to avoid vulnerability unless they're certain it's safe. So when he starts catching feelings, his first instinct is not to move forward quickly, but to slow down and assess. He's not testing you to judge you, he's testing the situation to see whether love will bring him closer or hurt him. You might notice him paying closer attention to your tone, your reactions, or how you treat him when you're frustrated. You might see him become more intentional with small gestures, asking deeper questions, remembering little details, or showing up when you least expect it. These are all signs that his emotional barriers are lowering, even if he doesn't realize it consciously. And here's the part women often misunderstand. When a man's feelings grow, so does his fear of losing what he's beginning to value. That fear shapes his behavior more than attraction itself. His psychology isn't complicated, it's protective, cautious, and sometimes a little clumsy. But beneath it all, it's deeply sincere. When his behavior changes, it's rarely a sign that he's pulling away. More often, it's the clearest sign that he's falling in love. When a man starts falling in love, his emotions often move faster than he's prepared to handle. This creates a quiet tension inside him, a mix of excitement and fear, and that tension leads to subtle, unconscious tests. These aren't planned, they aren't games. In fact, he's often unaware he's doing them, but they reveal exactly what he's trying to understand. Are you emotionally safe for him? Are you someone he can trust during the moments when he feels most vulnerable? One of the first subconscious tests a man uses is paying attention to how you react when things don't go your way. He wants to see whether you communicate calmly or explode, whether you try to understand him or punish him. He's observing whether your affection stays steady or disappears as soon as you're disappointed. Not because he's judging you harshly, but because love makes him wonder what the real version of you looks like in uncomfortable moments. Another unconscious test is pulling back slightly to see if you panic, chase, or respect his space. He doesn't do this to create distance. He does it because he's trying to understand whether your connection survives without constant reassurance. If you remain calm and grounded, instead of reacting with insecurity, it tells him something powerful: you're stable, and your feelings aren't dependent on his every move. He may also test emotional honesty without realizing it. He'll share a small vulnerability, something tiny but meaningful, and wait to see how you respond. Do you listen? Do you tease? Do you dismiss it? Your reaction shows him whether he can let you closer or whether he needs to stay guarded. And then there's the subtle test of consistency. He'll quietly observe whether your words match your actions, whether you're the same person on good days and stressful ones, whether you're supportive, even when he can't offer much in return. Men don't test to control you. They test to protect themselves from falling for someone who might break them. These subconscious tests aren't challenges you must pass. They're reflections of a man trying to figure out if love with you is something he can trust. When a man is developing deeper feelings for you, one of the biggest indicators isn't what he says, it's how closely he pays attention to your reactions. Men who are falling in love become incredibly perceptive, often far more than they appear. They watch the small things: your tone, your timing, your body language, the way your eyes change when you're happy or irritated. These observations help him piece together who you really are, beyond the version you show to the world. A man who feels something for you notices how you react when he shares something personal. He listens for softness in your voice, curiosity in your questions, or warmth in your presence. These tiny cues tell him whether you're someone he can open up to, or whether he should keep certain parts of himself safely tucked away. He may not consciously think, "She handled that well," but the feeling stays with him. He also pays attention to how you respond to disappointment, especially when plans change or something doesn't go your way. If you handle it with patience, understanding, or flexibility, it reassures him that you're steady and emotionally mature. But if you react with sharpness, blame, or irritation, he takes note of that too. Not because he expects perfection, but because he's trying to imagine what long-term love with you might feel like. Another reaction he evaluates closely is how you respond to his effort, even the smallest gestures. When he does something thoughtful, checking on you, giving advice, buying something small, or simply being present, your response matters more than the gesture itself. Appreciation tells him that he matters to you. Indifference tells him that he's expendable. He also observes your reactions around other people, how you treat strangers, how you speak to friends, how you behave when you're stressed or tired. These moments reveal your core personality more clearly than anything you say directly to him. And perhaps the most subtle thing he watches is how you react when he withdraws for a moment. Not because he's testing you deliberately, but because his fear or uncertainty creates distance. Your reaction during that distance tells him whether you're secure enough to give him space, or whether you crumble under doubt. In the quiet moments, in the small responses, in the reactions you don't even think about, he's learning who you are and deciding whether his heart can safely move closer. The attraction-building phase is one of the most powerful and often one of the most misunderstood stages in a developing connection. This is the stage where a man isn't just interested, he's becoming invested. His curiosity is turned into desire, and his comfort is slowly evolving into emotional pull. But instead of accelerating forward, he becomes more intentional, more observant, and sometimes even more hesitant, because he's aware that deeper feelings are forming. During this phase, his actions start to shift in subtle but meaningful ways. He begins to prioritize you, even if he doesn't announce it. He listens more closely, remembers more details, and pays attention to the things that matter to you. You'll notice he becomes more thoughtful with his time, how he texts, how he checks in, how he tries to be present even on busy days. This isn't random, it's his way of creating a stronger emotional bridge between you and him. A man building attraction also becomes more protective, not in a controlling way, but in a deeply instinctive one. He might offer help, give advice, or step in when he feels you're overwhelmed. He wants to be someone you can rely on, not because he thinks you can't handle things on your own, but because supporting you makes him feel closer. It's his way of showing love before he's ready to say the words. You'll also notice that he becomes more vulnerable in small increments. He may share stories he usually keeps private or open up about things he doesn't tell most people. These tiny moments of emotional exposure are intentional, even if he doesn't realize it. He's slowly letting you see parts of him that he normally keeps guarded, and he's watching to see how you hold that vulnerability. Attraction building also comes with a bit of internal conflict. He might pull back slightly at times, not because he's unsure about you, but because he's unsure about himself. Falling for someone is a powerful experience, and for men it can feel both exhilarating and terrifying. So he leans in, pulls back, comes close again, all while trying to understand where this connection is leading. In this phase, everything he does is about creating emotional closeness while protecting himself from falling too fast. And if he continues choosing you, even through moments of hesitation, it's one of the clearest signs that real love is beginning to form. One of the most confusing moments in a growing connection is when a man suddenly pulls away, right when things seem to be going well. For many women, this shift feels like rejection. It feels like he lost interest or changed his mind. But in reality, pulling away is rarely about losing feelings. Most of the time, it's about feeling too much too quickly and not knowing how to handle the intensity. When a man starts caring deeply, he experiences an emotional conflict that he often struggles to articulate. On one hand, he wants to be close, to keep building the connection, to stay wrapped in the comfort he feels with you. But on the other hand, he's suddenly aware that he is becoming vulnerable, and vulnerability is something many men are taught to fear. The moment he notices that his feelings are stronger than he expected, the instinct to protect himself unintentionally kicks in. So he steps back, not because he wants space from you, but because he needs space to process what's happening inside him. He needs time to understand his emotions, to reassure himself that he's not losing control, and to figure out whether he's truly ready for the kind of closeness he feels growing between you. During this pullback, he watches your response more closely than you realize. He's observing whether you become anxious and clingy, whether you get angry and accusatory, or whether you remain calm, confident, and secure. A grounded reaction reassures him. A panicked reaction overwhelms him. He's not testing you consciously. He's simply trying to see whether this connection brings him peace or pressure. He may also withdraw because he's evaluating whether he can meet your expectations. When a man genuinely likes you, one of his biggest fears is disappointing you. Pulling away gives him a moment to reflect on what he wants, what he can offer, and whether he feels ready for a deeper level of commitment. It's important to understand that pulling away isn't a sign he's leaving, it's a sign he's thinking, it's emotional recalibration. And more often than not, if he feels safe with you, if he senses that his feelings are welcome rather than demanded, he comes back with greater clarity and stronger intentions. His distance doesn't always mean he's done. Sometimes it means he's finally beginning to understand how much you matter. When a man starts developing deeper feelings, one of the clearest places those feelings show up is in the way he communicates with you. But what most people don't realize is that men often use subtle, almost invisible communication. Tests without ever intending to. These tests are not traps. They're reflections of his desire to understand whether the emotional connection he feels is truly mutual and emotionally safe for him to explore. You might notice that he shares something slightly vulnerable, not too heavy, but just enough to see how you respond. Maybe he mentions a stressful day, a personal insecurity, or a past disappointment. What he's really watching is whether your response feels supportive or dismissive, whether you listen with empathy or brush it off. Your reaction in those small moments gives him clues about whether he can open himself further. Another communication test happens when he goes a little quieter, not silent enough to disappear, just quiet enough to see whether you react with patience or panic. This soft withdrawal isn't about playing games. It's his way of checking whether the connection is strong enough to withstand a natural pause. If you stay grounded instead of chasing him anxiously, it signals emotional stability, and that stability draws him closer. He may also test consistency. He'll observe whether your tone changes depending on your mood, whether your affection fluctuates when you're frustrated, or whether you communicate with kindness even during disagreements. Men pay close attention to emotional patterns, even if they don't talk about it. Consistency makes him feel safe. Emotional unpredictability makes him pull back. Another subtle test is when he brings up small topics just to see how you think, your values, your boundaries, your beliefs about relationships. He listens not just to your words but to the energy behind them. He's trying to understand whether your communication style aligns with his emotional needs. And then there are the moments when he says something teasing or playful, just to see whether you understand his humor or take it personally. Shared emotional language matters to him more than he admits. These communication tests aren't challenges you have to pass. They're simply the ways a man, often without realizing it, tries to see whether the connection he's investing in is real, mutual, and emotionally safe enough for him to fall all the way in. When love shifts from interest to something real, a man's behavior begins to change in ways that are both subtle and unmistakable. This is the phase where his emotions take root deeper than he expected, where the feeling becomes more than excitement and more than attraction. Love, when it becomes serious for a man, often reveals itself not through dramatic declarations, but through consistent, steady, meaningful shifts in his actions and presence. One of the first signs is a sense of intentionality. He's no longer just spending time with you. He's prioritizing it. He thinks ahead. He makes plans, and he becomes more deliberate about the way he shows up in your life. This isn't about impressing you. It's about creating stability, because he knows he wants you to be part of his world for more than just the moment. You'll also notice a deeper kind of attentiveness. He listens differently. He remembers small things you say in passing, and he circles back to them later, not because he's trying hard, but because he genuinely cares. Your feelings start to matter to him on a level he didn't expect. If something bothers you, he wants to understand it. If something excites you, he wants to share in it. Your emotional world becomes meaningful to him in a way that surprises even himself. A man who is getting serious also becomes more protective, but not in a controlling or possessive way. It's a natural, instinctive desire to keep you safe, to support you, to be someone you can rely on. He becomes more mindful of your needs, more aware of your comfort, and more willing to make small sacrifices without expecting anything in return. There is also a shift in vulnerability. He starts to let you see him more clearly. His fears, his doubts, his dreams, the parts of himself he rarely shares. When love becomes serious, a man wants to be known, not just admired. He wants to be seen for who he truly is, not just for the version he presents on the surface. Most importantly, his consistency stabilizes. He doesn't vanish, retreat, or waver. Instead, he becomes emotionally present. He shows up even on the days when it's inconvenient. His effort doesn't fade after he wins your attention. It increases because he values what he's building with you. When love gets serious for a man, his actions become a quiet but powerful promise. I'm here, and I'm choosing you, not just for now, but for what could be next. As a connection deepens, it's natural for both people to observe, question, and evaluate each other. But there's a crucial difference between healthy, subconscious tests that stem from vulnerability and red flag behavior that reveals emotional immaturity or manipulation. Understanding this difference can save you from confusion and help you avoid investing in someone who isn't ready for a real relationship. Healthy tests happen quietly and unintentionally. They're driven by genuine feelings, not by control. A man might get slightly quieter to see how you respond to his need for space, or he might share a small vulnerability to understand whether he can trust you with something deeper. He might watch how you communicate during disagreement, not because he wants to provoke you, but because he wants to know whether emotional conflict with you feels safe. These behaviors aren't meant to destabilize the connection. They're meant to understand it. Healthy tests always lead to deeper closeness when handled with compassion and clarity. But red flags feel different. They create confusion rather than clarity. A man who pulls away intentionally to provoke insecurity is not protecting himself. He's manipulating your emotions to gain reassurance. Someone who gives mixed signals on purpose, who withholds affection, or who hot and cold cycles to keep you guessing is not testing from vulnerability. He's operating from fear, ego, or emotional immaturity. Red flag tests are designed to keep you off balance, making you chase or prove yourself. Instead of building trust, they erode it. Healthy testing respects your boundaries. Red flags violate them. Healthy testing encourages communication. Red flags avoid accountability. Healthy testing emerges from genuine affection. Red flags emerge from unresolved issues. A man who's testing you in a healthy way will respond positively when you show emotional stability, honesty, and compassion. A man who's testing you in toxic ways will escalate the behavior when you respond with calmness, because the goal isn't closeness. The goal is control. The simplest way to differentiate them is this: healthy tests make you feel valued and seen, even in moments of uncertainty. Red flags make you feel anxious, confused, or not enough. If a man is truly falling in love, his tests may be imperfect, but they will always be rooted in the desire to build a stronger bond, not break you down. When a man subtly tests you or shows behaviors tied to falling in love, your response can either strengthen the connection or create unnecessary tension. The key is balance. You want to be emotionally available without losing yourself in his emotional pace. Responding the right way means showing understanding, patience, and authenticity while maintaining your boundaries. First, recognize the intent behind his behavior. If he's withdrawing slightly or asking small, indirect questions, it's often because he's processing emotions or assessing the safety of the connection. Responding with patience rather than panic reassures him. Overreacting, chasing, or becoming defensive can unintentionally trigger his fear of vulnerability, making him retreat further. Calm, grounded responses show him that your emotional stability is something he can rely on. Next, match honesty with empathy. If he shares a vulnerability, acknowledge it without judgment. Listen actively, ask thoughtful questions, and express genuine curiosity about his feelings. This shows him that he can open up safely and that his emotional risks will be met with understanding rather than criticism. Men often equate emotional safety with long-term trust, so even small gestures of attentive listening strengthen the bond. Consistency is another crucial element. Men watch not just what you say, but how you respond over time. If you respond predictably and authentically, you provide a sense of security, signaling that he doesn't have to second-guess your reactions. Mixed signals or overcorrection can unintentionally heighten his caution and slow emotional progress. Finally, maintain your boundaries while being compassionate. Responding the right way doesn't mean agreeing to everything or sacrificing your needs. It means communicating respectfully, showing patience, and demonstrating that your emotional energy is stable, consistent, and approachable. Ultimately, the right response creates a positive feedback loop. His careful observation of you meets your calm, grounded energy, which encourages him to lower defenses, be more vulnerable, and fully invest. Your responses don't just reflect your feelings, they actively guide the pace and depth of the relationship. With patience, clarity, and empathy, you help transform his subtle tests into genuine steps toward lasting love. As we wrap up this deep dive into the ways men test you when they fall in love, it's important to step back and reflect on what all of these behaviors truly mean. Every glance, pause, and subtle test is a reflection of curiosity, care, most importantly, vulnerability. When a man is falling for you, he is quietly navigating his own emotions, while simultaneously assessing whether you are someone he can trust with his heart. Understanding these signals allows you to respond with insight, patience, and confidence, rather than confusion or doubt. The key takeaway is that his tests are not about manipulation, they're about connection. By recognizing the signs, you gain clarity and control over your own responses. You can nurture the bond without losing your own emotional balance. You can encourage openness, vulnerability, and trust in ways that make him feel safe to invest fully. Responding with consistency, empathy, and authenticity will naturally accelerate intimacy and emotional closeness. As for next steps, focus on building a foundation that combines patience, communication, and self-respect. Notice patterns rather than isolated moments, and trust your instincts when evaluating whether a man's behavior is rooted in genuine affection or red flag tendencies. Engage with him in ways that encourage emotional honesty, while maintaining boundaries that protect your own heart. Remember, love is a mutual journey. His subtle tests are just one part of a bigger picture, one that involves observation, learning, and emotional growth for both of you. By staying aware, grounded, and compassionate, you give the connection the best chance to evolve into something deep, meaningful, and lasting.